We're diving back into the wild ride of Misumi Makoto's anime adventure. So, this guy's just your average teen, right? But then he gets tossed into a whole alternate universe. He was really hoping for an epic experience. But let me tell you, that's not how it played out. Back on Earth, heads off to school, does some archery after class, and then it's back home. That night, he's just chilling in his room, scrolling through the internet. But boom, he opens his eyes and finds himself floating in space. Before he can even process what's happening, this entity rolls up and claims to be the ruler of the night realm Tsukuyomi. He's there to make Makoto a hero and send him to this other world. And get this, he learns that his parents are from an alternate universe. Talk about mind-blowing. It finally clicks why he's got no close relatives back in the regular world. At some point, our boy Makoto signs a contract that basically agrees to this wild ride into the other universe. Tsukuyomi seals the deal and grants him some dope powers for his new life. Next thing you know, bam, he's teleported to the domain of some powerful lord who's totally not impressed with him. She laughs at how ugly he is. What a bummer. She barely listens to why he's there and treats him like trash. In the end, she slaps some power on him that lets him understand and speak every language except human languages. Before she kicks him out to her universe, she warns him not to go spreading his seed among humans. And just like that, their hostile little meetup ends as Makoto tumbles through space, seriously questioning his life choices. As he's free-falling, he screams for his life, but Tsukuyomi swoops in to catch him, thank goodness. While they're soaring through the sky, Tsukuyomi spills the beans about the extent of Makoto's powers. Sure, the dude is technically invincible now, but Tsukuyomi reminds him that he can still bite the dust. Towards the end of their chat, Tsukuyomi starts fading from using too much energy, and before you know it, he totally vanishes, leaving Makoto alone to face gravity. But hey, he lands safely. Even after that dramatic drop, he tries to find his bearings and begins hiking through a wasteland for 3 whole days without spotting a single soul. No people, animals, or food. On the 3rd day, after catching a breather, he realizes he's still moving thanks to his powers. Later that night, he hears a girl screaming for help and rushes toward the sound. Turns out, she's being menaced by this freaky 2-headed giant dog. And get this, the lady isn't even human. She's a young orc who looks like a pig. The 2-headed dog wants to make her dinner, but Makoto's not about to let that happen. He springs into action and delivers a brutal kick, taking out one of the heads like a boss. Emma, yeah, that's the orc's name, is totally freaked out by how he handled that monster and thinks he's a threat. Makoto tries chatting her up, but at first, she's panicking. It's not until she realizes he can understand her that she starts to open up. They have a heart-to-heart where Makoto shares his backstory and mentions he's trying to find a human settlement. Emma fills him in that they're stuck in a wasteland at the edge of their universe. That hits Makoto hard, reminding him the Lord wasn't kidding about sending him to the ends of her world. Emma introduces herself as a Highland orc and reveals she's on a mission to sacrifice herself to someone named Shen because their land's barren, and her death will supposedly help it grow back. Feeling sorry for her, Makoto starts to wonder what life could be like if he saved her. Now, when he gets to Emma's settlement, his hunger game is on since he hasn't eaten in days. Sitting with him at the table are 2 orc buddies, just staring as he demolishes all the meat laid out. Meanwhile, Emma pulls off some magic tricks by lifting stuff to the table, which leaves Makoto in awe. Seems like magic is just a casual thing in this universe, but Emma freaks when she finds out he can't even use it. Curiosity piqued, Makoto asks her to teach him. She's down, so they immediately jump into some spell practice. First up, it's fire magic, and Emma makes it look easy. When it's Makoto's turn, he nails it actually. He outdoes her, but then, orc onlookers are disappointed because his power level is way lower than they expected, so they bail. Now, Makoto's stressing because he's only at level 1. Feeling bad, Emma offers to teach him a thing or two. The next morning, Makoto leaves a note for Emma, saying he took some spells and tools to take on Shen. Emma reads it, and feels a pang of guilt since they barely know each other. Meanwhile, Makoto's climbing the mountain where Shen hangs out. Just before he hits the entrance, he decides to test out his new powers. But whoops! His target practice goes wrong, and he accidentally blows up the entrance. The resulting blast takes out Shen's servants hanging around, and before they kick the bucket, they confess they were using her name to exploit the orcs for sacrifices. Now, Shasterisk Asterisk just got real for Makoto since he's left in Shen's crosshairs for messing with her turf. Shen shows up right after her servants disappear, and man, she's a dragon with insane power and tough scales. An epic battle kicks off, but Makoto holds his ground. He even manages to hurt her, which totally shocks Shen since she thought she was invincible. Then, she traps him in a box and dives into his memories. While trapped, he relives that awkward moment in high school where he rejected a girl. Eventually, he breaks free from the mind prison using his powers, and he finds out Shen is kinda interested in his memories. She apologizes for being a jerk earlier, and formally introduces herself. In return, Makoto tells her he's from another world. Out of nowhere, Shen suggests forming a contract with Makoto, leaving him totally stunned. She breaks it down for him, saying she wants to be his companion because she's intrigued by his memories. After a few minutes of her pleading, he finally agrees. They kick off the contract ritual, starting with a 50-50 split. First attempt, epic fail. Makoto's way too strong. Same deal for round 2, even after Shen gives it her all. In the end, they settle on a 20-80 contract with Makoto getting the bigger slice. When it's all wrapped up, Shen transforms into a stunning woman in a Japanese outfit, and Makoto is just standing there, speechless for a solid few seconds. Next up, Shen gets into the nitty-gritty of her contract with Makoto. She explains that the weaker creature takes on the appearance of the stronger one, which is why she has that masculine vibe going on. Then, she conjures up this misty portal and tells Shen to jump through to the other side. This portal leads to her own little demi-plane. As Makoto steps through, he immediately feels the temperature and pressure shift, plus the scenery is totally gorgeous, making him wonder where he actually is again. Before this contract, Shen's demi-plane was all dark and gloomy, so the transformation totally blows her mind. Strolling through the beautiful garden, Makoto spots a fruit that looks like something from Earth. Since it's edible, he grabs one and offers it to Shen to try. She takes a bite and lights up because it's super tasty, but Makoto's kind of bummed since it's not as sour as he hoped. Moving on, he uses his powers to check out the whole place and finds it's massive. With that realization, he grins, thinking that the Lord from earlier can't mess with him here in the demi-plane. He also pitches the idea of creating a town there, an illusory city to hang out in later. Shen then assures him she wasn't involved in the sacrifices back at the orc village. So, Makoto suggests they head back to straighten things out. Later, Shen opens up a portal to the real world. As soon as Makoto steps out, Emma calls out to him, trying to warn him not to fight Shen like he was planning. Little does she know, Shen is right next to him, and they've already gone toe-to-toe. When Emma realizes what's been going on, she faints, leaving Makoto super worried. That evening, Shen and Makoto chill with the rocks for a feast in their settlement. While the other orcs dance and celebrate their newfound freedom, Emma serves Makoto some food and thanks him for helping her village. Meanwhile, Shen chats with one of the elder orcs about Makoto's recent heroics. As their convo wraps up, Shen suggests the orcs live in her domain. The next day, Makoto's jaw drops when he sees the whole village bowing down to him. Turns out, Shen convinced them to move into her demi-plane. Makoto's a bit uncomfortable about it, but Shen's duplicate assures him everything's gonna be fine. And when Makoto spots a younger version of Shen, he freaks out, thinking she's Shen's daughter. Finally, Shen teleports the entire village into her demi-plane. In the days following their move, Makoto spends his time mastering magic and practicing spells. One day, Shen finishes binge-watching an entire anime series straight from Makoto's memories. She's itching for the next episode, but Makoto's not about to let her have it yet. So, she gives in to his terms and eventually secures the right to watch it. As she goes off to gather what she needs, Makoto starts reminiscing about his past, looking at old photos of his parents. He knows they are from this world, and thinks it'd be cool to explore their journey through this universe. That afternoon, an old dwarf bolts by, chased by a massive black spider. He dodges some of the spider's deadly attacks, wondering why it's even here. In the meantime, Makoto hears some orcs struggling to chop down a tree for wood. When he learns about their struggle, he whips out a small dagger and powers it up with magic. He uses it to make a clean cut and effortlessly lifts the wood from its base. The orcs are speechless, totally blown away by Makoto's skills. After he helps with the wood, he uses his magic to heal one of the orcs' arms, leaving the others in shock. The only downside is he can't heal his own hand after slicing it with his dagger, so he wraps it up to stop the bleeding. Minutes later, Shen shows up carrying Baron, the elder dwarf, who's passed out. At first, Makoto thinks Shen did something to him, but she quickly reveals that their demi-plane is under attack. She warns him that his injury will attract the beast. Just then, that same black spider bursts into Shen's demi-plane, looking to attack anyone in sight. Makoto freaks out at the sight of it, but Shen stays super chill. When he urges her to fight, she declines, saying she'll handle the orcs and the dwarfs. She steps aside, leaving Makoto to face the black spider solo. The spider shoots webs at him, but he manages to dodge them like a champ. Curious, Makoto asks about where the spider comes from, and the dwarf spills that it's the black spider of disaster, a legendary beast driven mad by eternal hunger. Shen adds that its insatiable appetite pushed it over the edge. With this new knowledge, Makoto realizes this spider is a serious threat. He starts prepping for battle, reinforcing his body with magic to boost his strength, agility, and speed. The showdown with the spider kicks off as he readies an epic attack. Even though the spider is way bigger than him, he uses his speed to dodge its vicious attacks. He tries pounding it with elemental magic, but the spider keeps regenerating its damage fast. So, he fires off a massive fire blast that hits the spider hard, followed by an aerial attack that stalls the battle for a moment. While the spider recovers, Shen, who's watching, jokingly mentions the spider might have a crush on Makoto since he's done some serious damage. Makoto's face says it all. He looks totally shocked, and it seems like she might not be wrong, but before he knows it, the spider regenerates completely and gears up for round 2. This time, the spider is more aggressive, piercing through Makoto's defenses and pinning him against a tree. Despite this, he refocuses and releases a surge of mana that sends the spider tumbling back. As the spider recovers, Makoto unleashes a flurry of deadly attacks, leaving Shen speechless. Finally, he lands a crushing blow that sends the spider flying across the area, but he burns out from using so much mana and faints right after. To everyone's surprise, the spider regenerates again and pulls Makoto's unconscious body towards her. Shen races after Makoto, but notices that the spider seems to be infatuated with him. She jumps in, demanding Makoto back. The slightest resistance from the spider makes Shen retaliate with a powerful hit that sends Makoto crashing to the ground. After getting Makoto back, she talks to the black spider, convincing her to form a contract with Makoto. As soon as Shen proposes the idea, the spider agrees, and without Makoto's say-so, they sign the contract. After the ritual, the black spider morphs into a cute lady, leaving Shen totally stunned. Later that day, Makoto wakes up to find all his injuries healed, and right beside him is the black spider in her new form. Even though she looks adorable, Makoto starts freaking out, sensing something off about her. A few hours ago, while Makoto was out cold, Emma and Shen worked their magic to heal him. Fast forward to now, and the black spider starts narrating everything he missed while he was knocked out. When Makoto learns that this spider signed a contract with him, he totally freaks out, thinking contracts mean consent. Plus, the spider's creepy vibes and flirty body language have him on edge. Just then, Shen strolls into the room with a dwarf named Baron. Baron introduces himself to Makoto, who does the same, and then he thanks Makoto for dealing with the black spider since his village is now safe. Little does he know, the spider is right there, looking all cute. Makoto rolls with the whole situation, following Shen's lead. Then, Baron is begging Makoto to let his people live in the demiplane, and Makoto jumps on it like, sure, why not? The next day, Makoto's standing in front of a bunch of new species ready to move into the demiplane. Alongside him are Shen, Mini Shen, and Mio, causing the crowd to go wild with cheers. At one point, they decide to call Makoto Young Master, but he's like, nah, that's not me. But when he sees their eager faces, he gives in, and they all cheer even louder. Later, Eld, the Elder Dwarves leader, introduces himself since his folks will be sticking around. He clocks Makoto's features and questions if he's on some mission from the female lord. Makoto's face goes red, and he's like, no way, because he can't stand the lord. After that, Mio and Shen introduce their followers to Makoto since they're all gonna serve him. Mio's followers look like humanoid spiders, but a bit more chill. She explains that they've been fed thanks to Makoto's mana and blood from earlier battles. Makoto's mind is blown, but he keeps it together. Once the formalities wrap up, he addresses everyone, but leaves the details to Mio and Shen since he's got bigger fish to fry. Later that day, Makoto swaggers over to the human settlement he spotted yesterday. However, when he shows up, they're ready to throw down. He tries explaining what he's there for, but communication isn't happening, and they start raining arrows down on him. He bolts, summoning a defensive shield for cover. As he runs, he remembers that the Lady Lord made it impossible for him to chat with humans or vice versa. That evening, he sits under a tent feeling sorry for himself. Emma shows up to cheer him up, and that's when he discovers she can understand human language. Mio and Shen back her up on that too. Makoto's just sitting there, shocked that he's the only one who can't connect with the humans. Plus, he wonders why they attacked him at all. Shen drops a bombshell, saying it's all due to his mana. Apparently, he gives off so much mana that humans think he's some kind of demon king. Emma points out that he can control his mana, but every time he tries, it's just too much to handle. So, he vows to learn the human language and score gear to keep his mana in check. Flash forward a week, and he's making progress with the human language. Another week rolls by, and he scores a ring from one of the elves to help suppress his mana. But when he tries it on, bam, the ring shatters, cause his mana is overpowering. A month later, he's got his human language skills down but still struggles to speak. So, he starts projecting the words he wants to say like a hologram, and Mio's all for it. Later, he gets a new ring called Dropnir, and this one actually works to suppress his powers. The next day, he suit up with Mio and Shen, and they head out to Zetsuya, the human settlement, riding in a fruit-filled chariot as a disguise. At the gate, his mask keeps him under the radar, and Shen sweet-talks the gatekeeper into letting them through. While they're in Zetsuya, they hit up an adventurers guild. Mio and Shen convince the receptionist that Makoto can't speak, which makes it easier for him to use his holographic chat. Then, the receptionist spills the tea on the job listings and the adventurers' rankings. Makoto checks out the notice board and spots a high-ranking adventurer named Mills Ace, who's rocking an SS rank with a power level of 444. Meanwhile, Mio and Shen use a measuring scroll to check their power levels, and they blow the charts away, leaving everyone in the guild totally shook. Shen's power level hits 1,320, and Mio's is a whopping 1,500. The gap gets Shen heated because she wants to be at the same level as Mio. After getting her guild card, she asks about the next high-ranking adventurer, and the receptionist talks about Sophia Bulga, the Dragon Slayer, who's at level 920. This Dragon Slayer talk perks Shen up, and she questions what kind of dragon Sophia took down. Apparently, it was a greater dragon lancer chilling in the Empire. Meanwhile, Makoto's checking out a measuring scroll and finds out he's still level 1, which makes everyone side-eye him like, where's this guy even from? At sunset, Mio and the gang check into an inn. inn. The receptionist tries to charge them an absurd price for a room, but Shen pulls a, "Do you want to live? Move," and they end up paying way less. Once they settle in, Makoto mentions he thinks they're being followed. Shen senses it too, and gets ready to keep watch. Later that night, under the moonlight, some shady figures in black approach Makoto's chariot. Shen, on night watch, senses trouble and pulls out her sword, poised to defend. Meanwhile, Mio and Makoto are on their way back from dinner when they run into a young girl named Rinnen. Makoto sees the girl and wonders what she's doing out so late. He tells Mio to take care of the situation, but she ends up being pretty harsh on the girl. This makes Makoto snap at her, and then grill the girl about what she's up to. While he's talking to Rinnen, she suddenly cries out and hugs him, which makes him suggest heading back to the inn. Meanwhile, an unknown adventurer is lurking in the corner, grinning weirdly as everything unfolds. At the inn, Rinon formally introduces herself to Makoto and starts sharing her backstory. She explains that her family is just her and her sister, who's been missing for over a month after setting out to find work. Because of that, Rinon got kicked out of her apartment for not being able to pay rent. She gets really emotional talking about it, missing her sister a ton. Over at another spot, Shen is facing off against a bunch of robbers trying to steal Makoto's chariot. She tries to hold back, but two of them unfortunately meet their end thanks to her fighting skills. Right as she sees one of the robbers trying to escape, she bolts after her and manages to catch her just in time. That night, Shen fills Makoto in on everything, but he's not happy about her fighting style. They've brought one of the unconscious robbers back to the inn for questioning. During all this, Rinnen meets Shen and shows her a sketch of what her sister looks like. Shen thinks it's a nicely done drawing, but when Makoto sees it, he has a weird reaction that catches Shen's eye. Later, Rinnen steps out of the room to get dinner, but she looks super worried about something. Mio storms back in, all riled up about how terrible dinner was. She walks in to find Makoto digging through the memories of the female robber Shen caught earlier. After finishing his investigation, he reveals that the robbers were at the guild, and they're connected to Rainon too. Plus, from the robber's memories, he figures out where Rinnen's sister is. He asks Shen and Mayo to help find her, and even though the timing seems off, Mayo agrees, mainly because of the look in Makoto's eyes. You see, Makoto's weird reaction to the sketch was because Rinnen's sister looks just like Hasegawa, a girl he had a crush on back in high school. At the crack of dawn, Shen and Mio set off to complete Makoto's mission. On the way, Shen brings up Makoto's reaction to Rinnen's sketch. Mio assumes the girl in the drawing is an old friend of his, but Shen shoots that down, saying Makoto doesn't have any friends in this world. This confidence comes from her being able to sift through his memories with her powers. When Mio finds this out, she gets a bit jealous since she hasn't been given that kind of access. Still, Shen isn't about to spill more personal info about Makoto. Later that morning, Makoto goes out with Rinnen to sell fruits. While they're on the way, Rinnen reminisces about a time she had with her sister. Back then, her sister Toa was struggling financially after having bad luck with a monster. One day, Toa didn't come back home, and Rinnen thought about bolting to the next town. Just as she was about to leave, Lion steps in and stops her. In the present, Toa is lying unconscious in some underground cellar. Back in the day, Rinon's family had been adventurers for generations, but one of their relatives lost their treasured short sword in battle that pushed Toa to venture into the wasteland to reclaim her family's honor. Fast forward to now, Mio and Shen break into the cellar and free Toa. As soon as they're out, they run into Mills Ace, the strongest adventurer in Zetsuya. Later that afternoon, after trading fruits for cash, Makoto and Rinnen head back to the inn. When they arrive, Rinnen makes an excuse about forgetting something at home. When she leaves, Makoto gets suspicious, since she clearly said she was kicked out. He decides to use his powers to trace her steps because something feels off. Meanwhile, Rinnen meets with Lion, who's in charge of the robbers who attacked Shen earlier. During their chat, Lion pushes her to steal money from Makoto, promising that doing so will get her sister back. Rinon hesitates, but her sister's safety weighs heavily, making her reconsider. As she leaves the room, it dawns on Makoto that the entire place is messed up because of what's happening. Anyway, Lion and some guys from the Adventurers Guild join forces with Mills Ace to take on Shen and Mio. Before things kick off, Mills Ace suggests teaming up, but Shen and Mio are like, nah, they stay loyal to Makoto, which gets Mills Ace and his crew laughing at them. So what do? They join forces and go to hit Mills Ace with a power punch, but it totally doesn't faze him thanks to his magical barrier. Meanwhile, Rinon sits outside the inn, mulling over what Lion told her. Suddenly, the inn's receptionist tells her to scram because she's bad for business. Makoto shows up just then, scaring the receptionist off thanks to his earlier altercation with Shen. He turns to Rinnen, who apologizes for what she was asked to do. Makoto feels bad for her, and vows to make Lion and the others pay for what they put her through. Back with Shen and Mio, they're getting ready to throw down with Mills, Ace, and his gang. Even though they're outnumbered, they launch some insane attacks on Mills Ace and his crew. At one point, Mio grabs Mills Ace and starts slapping him, swelling up his face. Shen joins in, causing chaos and leaving Toa stunned at how powerful they are. Once the dust settles, Mills Ace, now looking like a balloon, threatens Rinnen with a knife to her neck, saying he'll kill her if they don't let him go. His swollen face makes it hard for him to talk normally, but Shen and Mio show no mercy. After they take Mills ace down, Shen and Mio start bickering about who did better in the fight. This leads to more destruction as they try to prove who's stronger. When the smoke clears again, Rinon finally finds her sister Toa and hugs her, tears of joy streaming down her face. Later that afternoon, they both thank Makoto and his crew for saving them from the adventurers. And as a final twist, Makoto ties up Shen and Mio with spider silk and tosses them out the window for wrecking almost the entire settlement. Later that day, Makoto sets off on a journey to the next village. They stop by another guild to get re-registered, and the receptionist totally freaks out when she hears about the destruction of Zetsuya by monsters. A narrator fills her in that Shen and Mio were the ones who chased off the monsters, but the receptionist just can't believe that Mio and Shen have power levels over 1,000. Meanwhile, Makoto finds out he can't register because his info from Zetsuya is gone. The receptionist tells him to get registered in T-Sage for new guild cards. After hearing this, Makoto walks up to Shen and teases her about taking on a knight errand, which she totally bites into because it sounds like a sweet way to train and level up over her rival, Mio. Meanwhile, Mio is all hyped because she'll have Makoto all to herself while Shen is out. After wrapping up at the guild, Makoto continues on to T-Sage. On the way, he senses some monsters up ahead and tells Mio to take care of them. Boom! Mio takes them out in one go, leaving Rinon and the others in the chariot like, whoa! When Makoto is about to leave, Tua jumps in and tells him to gather the valuable parts of the monsters first. He's reluctant at first, but gives in after some serious peer pressure. The next day, they jet off closer to Tsije, and thanks to their travels, they've racked up some pretty sweet monster materials. But hold up, Rinon warns Makoto about some flying monsters ahead that have rare parts worth a ton of gold. Makoto tells Mio to handle them, but she backs out when Toa and the others explain how to kill them without wrecking the valuable parts. But Makoto, he makes it look easy, taking them out flawlessly and leaving everyone else stunned. They gather the monster parts and continue the trip to Tsije. Once they hit the city, Makoto stops by a guild to re-register, starting at the lowest rank, but he's super confident he'll climb the ranks in no time. He checks out some job postings and finds a special rank job from the Rembrandt Trading Company, an offer to find ruby eyes. Excited, he remembers that he just got his hands on some of those. He splits the valuable materials with Toa and the crew, taking the bulk of the ruby eyes. After that, Toa and the others feel kind of bummed since their time with Makoto is coming to an end. To celebrate the end of their journey, Makoto suggests they grab a meal together, and everyone's on board. That evening, Makoto and Toa meet up outside a restaurant for dinner with the rest of the crew. Inside, Makoto flips out when he sees a dish that's exactly like a chunk of meat he's been dying to try from a manga. He orders it, and it's as delicious as he hoped. Tears of joy stream down his face, which worries Toa a bit. While eating, a female traveler named Louisa praises Makoto for flawlessly taking down those rare monsters earlier. Then there's Hazel, who's tipsy, asking Makoto what he plans to do with the ruby eyes. Makoto recognizes Hazel as an alchemy master and explains he'll use them for the guild job. Another traveler, Renina, brings over drinks and suddenly wants to arm wrestle Makoto to see who's stronger. Spoiler, he wins like it's nothing. Everyone's jaws drop, especially Ranina, who's never lost that easily. A little later, Mio delivers another round of meat for Makoto but with triple the portion. He's stunned by how much she's eating, but she digs in like a champ, finishing in no time. At one point, Toa confronts Makoto about that job with the Rembrandt Trading Company, saying she heard some shady rumors. After dinner, Makoto and Mio head to an inn for the night. On the way, Makoto tells Mio to run ahead to grab materials from the wagon, since he's worried about robbers pulling a fast one like back in the last city. He brings up Toa's warning about the Rembrandt Trading Company, and since Mio's crafty, she lets him go get the materials but can't help grinning, thinking she'll finally have Makoto all to herself. When she gets to the inn, she tries to make it so there's only one bed, hoping he'll have to join her. But just before she can set her plan in motion, Makoto comes back with the materials, leaving her a little frustrated since her scheme failed. To top it off, as soon as Makoto hits the bed, he's out cold, which only annoys Mio further. The next day, they head back to the demiplane through a portal where Emma and Mini Shen run to hug Makoto, clearly missing him. Emma gives him a status update about everything that went down since he left. Most of the demiplane is thriving with all species working together on different projects. But then Emma mentions something that totally shocks Makoto. They've been using knowledge from his memories to build where they are now. When Emma brings up his memories, Mio seems super intrigued but keeps quiet. She asks Emma if she's managed to contact Shen, since Makoto can't. Emma says no, not even with Mini Shen, who's a fragment of her. Moments later, Eld comes running toward Makoto, and he's ditching his walking stick. Makoto's jaw drops. How's he running? Eld says he built this cool device to help him walk. Makoto's impressed, but he's not feeling Eld's armor choice. It's not merchant friendly. Luckily, there's other gear that does the trick better. He tries it on and finds it can adjust to his mana needs. The crafter, a dwarf named Rugui, who made Makoto's ring, explains its mana-absorbing features. But as soon as Makoto puts it on, it wears out because it's already full of mana, so of course he wants another outfit from Rugui that'll last longer. The very next day, Makoto heads back to Tsije to finish that Rembrandt Trading Company job. When he arrives at the building, he meets a guy who quickly tells him that everything he's doing is seriously wrong. Earlier that day, an adventurer no one recognized was Makoto's grilling the receptionist at Seizai Guild about some dude who snagged the Rembrandt job. He gets all specific, like what the guy looked like, what he wore, the whole shebang, and the receptionist fills him in. Meanwhile, at the Rembrandt Trading Company, a dude named Patrick Rembrandt is all ears for Makoto. Makoto introduces himself super formally and says he wants to start a business and build a solid relationship with the Rembrandt Trading Company. But since Makoto's pretty new in town and young, Patrick tells him he's barking up the wrong tree. Plus, he's not too keen on the chat because it turns out Makoto didn't snag the ruby eyes as the job said he should have. But plot twist, Makoto slams a pair of ruby eyes down on Patrick's table, leaving him totally floored. Patrick, seeing the eyes, is like, "Whoa, my bad for not taking you seriously." Curious, Makoto asks Patrick why he even needs those eyes. Patrick explains he needs them for some special medicine for his wife and daughter who are cursed with a nasty disease. After hearing him out, Makoto offers to be there when the medicine is made because he knows an alchemy meister who can help save some cash for Patrick. Then when Patrick spills how many ruby eyes it takes to cure just one person, Makoto's all, "I can get you more." Patrick looks like he just hit the jackpot because he's finally got enough ruby eyes to save his fam. As a thank you, he gives Makoto a signed receipt to lock in their deal. Before Makoto heads out, he drops that he's off to the Merchants Guild to register. Patrick wishes him luck on passing the guild test, which is a bit of news for Makoto since he didn't have to take any tests at the other guilds he applied to. Later that day at the Merchants Guild, Makoto checks out the test deets and finds out he can actually take it. He gets the manual for the written test from the receptionist, and after flipping through it, he's like, "Can I take this test right now?" Her jaw drops because she thinks it's tough. A little while later, Makoto's just chilling in a classroom waiting for his examiner. When the examiner finally shows up, he apologizes for being late and hands Makoto the test booklet. Fast forward, and Makoto wraps up the test, leaving the examiner's eyes wide. He checks out Makoto's answers and realizes he nailed it. No wrong answers at all. Turns out the education standards in this world are way lower than what Makoto's used to. But then the examiner tells him about a second test involving procurement. They want him to find a ride crystal, maize forma, and a bunch of other rare goodies. Even though it sounds tough, Makoto suggests trading in some super valuable items instead. When he pulls them out, the examiner is in total shock. Didn't think Makoto had those stashed away. In the end, the examiner congratulates Makoto for crushing both tests. After wrapping up with the examiner, he swings back to the receptionist, only to find out his guild card will be ready the next day. With that news, he hits the streets, super hungry and dreaming about a mountain of food. Meanwhile, Shen is tearing it up, taking down monsters for practice. In her demiplane, her orcs and followers are prepping some monsters for a feast. Once the big meal's ready, she butchers it into tasty bits and digs in right away, munching on a heap of meat while her crew joins in the feast. At some point, one of her orcs tells Shen that Mio has entered the memory vault, where all of Makoto's memories are printed on slates. Shen bolts to the vault, eager to catch up on some anime she hasn't finished yet. When she gets there, she spots Mio translating memories on some see-through tabs. Emma, who's hanging out too, welcomes Shen and asks her for help with the translations. Shen's hesitant, but Emma's like, "If you don't help, I'll spill to Makoto that you snuck back to the demiplane." So Shen's like, "Fine." During their translating session, Shen pulls out some stuff to watch an anime. Mio isn't thrilled about this, but doesn't stop her. Instead, Mio chats up Shen about the time she was left alone with Makoto, and at first, Shen's thinking something spicy went down, but she chills when Mio admits she just watched Makoto sleep. Back in T-Sig, Makoto orders a citrus-flavored drink at a restaurant. He takes a sip and realizes it's nowhere near as good as what he used to have in his old universe. He tries again, hoping for a better taste, but nope, it's even worse. Later, Makoto arrives back at the demiplane where Mini Shen fills him in on the fruits. She lets him know the weather's not been great for producing more fruits. After hearing that, he asks Mini Shen how the Illusory City project is going, which was in the works before he left. She says it's under construction, but the workers are a bit lost on the plans. Makoto's thinking of trading the demiplane's goods in the city, but it's tough to sell something to someone who doesn't know what it's worth. To fix that, he plans to get adventurers to wander into the demiplane and send them out with some products to build a good rep and spread rumors about the Illusory City. Later on, Shen uses her telepathy to call Makoto over to the memory vault. When he gets there, he sees Mayo and Shen tugging on a memory. He looks kinda bummed because he thought Shen's shout for him meant something urgent. To figure out what's going on, he asks a lady in the vault what's up and finds out Shen sneaked into the demiplane without telling him. When Shen and Mio realize he's there, they both start explaining themselves, kicking off a back and forth about why they were fighting. At the end of it all, Makoto settles things and gives them both some tasks to work on. Later that evening, Makoto, Mio, and Shen are hanging out at an inn in Siege. Makoto talks about his plans to do business with the Rembrandt Trading Group, feeling pretty confident he can work with Patrick thanks to the company's solid solid reputation. After he's done chatting, Makoto heads off to grab a bed. There are 2 beds in the room. As they fall asleep, Makoto gets a message from Hazel, the alchemist, confirming he can do business with Patrick. The next day, Makoto meets up with Hazel to go meet Patrick. Then there's that shady dude from before who was asking the receptionist about Makoto lurking in an alley. As he watches Makoto leaving, he tells his buddy to round up all the adventurers he can, offering to pay them anything to stop Rembrandt from getting his way. From the sounds of it, this guy's got some serious beef with the Rembrandt company. Some time ago, Patrick went all out on the guy who cursed his wife and daughters to death. Now, we jump to the present where Makoto shows up at the Rembrandt mansion, and Hazel's already waiting for Patrick. The fact that Hazel's about to work for Patrick kinda creeps him out after all. The Rembrandt family is super influential, and he definitely doesn't want to get on their bad side. Soon, Morris pops in and takes them to a room where Hazel's gonna whip up some medicine. It's stocked with all the ingredients, and Morris lays them out for Hazel. Without wasting any time, Hazel kicks off the spell to make the medicine. But while he's doing his thing, Makoto spots a little mistake in Hazel's technique and, without him noticing, tweaks the spell so they can pump out the medicine faster. Near the end of the process, Morris starts talking about some ambrosia flowers that could replace the ruby eyes they're using. Apparently, those ruby eyes are only used because the flowers are super rare. That gets Makoto smirking because he figures those flowers could be a game changer for his business. A few minutes later, Hazel nails down 1 dose of the medicine and hands it off to Morris, who bolts to take it to Patrick. Hazel tries to make more doses, but when Morris barges back in, he messes up the last batch. Since making this stuff is tricky, Makoto steps in with some magic skills to catch the falling dose before it hits the floor, totally shocking Morris because he didn't expect that from him. But no time to waste. Makoto and Hazel rush off to find Patrick as Morris asked. When they hit Patrick's office though, they see one of his arms wrapped up in bandages. Curious, Makoto asks what's up, and Patrick spills that his wife fought off the medicine like a champ. He's bummed because he really thought that drug would help her suffering. The curse has wiped off all her hair, taking away the beauty he remembers. After hearing all this, Makoto offers to see Patrick's wife to give her the medicine himself. Patrick's a bit skeptical if Makoto can handle it, but Morris backs him up since he saw what he could do earlier. So, Makoto heads to Patrick's wife's room, using a special scent to draw her out. When she finally comes out, she charges at him in a rage, but he dodges it like a pro. Eventually, Makoto restrains her and gets the medicine into her, which brings her back to normal. It's a bummer her hair's gonna take a while to grow back, but Patrick is thrilled with the result. Next up, Makoto goes to heal one of Patrick's daughters, and this time, it's way easier to administer the drug. But then, in a classic slip-up moment, Hazel rushes in trying to give Makoto the last dose and trips, dropping it. Just before it hits the ground though, Morris catches it, and Makoto's left staring in shock. He grabs the last dose from Morris, then heads off to fix Patrick's last daughter. This time though, he notices this one still has some of her sanity. Even so, when she gets all hostile, he quickly subdues her, leaving Patrick with a chance to give her the medicine. Later that night, when Patrick's wife and daughters are catching some Z's, he thanks Makoto for what he did, also throwing some praise at the Lord for getting freed from suffering, which kinda ticks Makoto off. Why? Because he wasn't a fan of that Lord since she treated him pretty poorly when he first arrived in this world. After chatting with Patrick, he heads out of the mansion and into the streets. On the way, Mio and Shen catch up with him because they've really missed him, but then, bam, they get jumped by a couple of adventurers. Makoto manages to dodge their first attack, but thankfully, Mio and Shen stay unscathed even after being hit full force with some fire magic. The attackers are Lime Latte, that dude who's got a bone to pick with the Rembrandt Trading Company, and his buddy. Mio and Shen didn't dodge because they wanted to see what kind of power their opponents had. Lime Latte summons a horde of adventurers for backup and offers Mio some cash to join him. And get this, Mio actually takes the bait and heads off to chill with Lime Latte. Shen's totally shocked since she never thought Mio would pull a betrayal like that, but it's all part of a plan from Makoto and Mio to keep Shen from going full-on berserker mode during the fight, since she loves testing her strength against Mio. Just before they start throwing down, Lime Latte reveals he's out for revenge because of Makoto's connection to the Rembrandt Trading Company. And with that intel, Makoto whispers to Shen through telepathy to hold back and just give the guys a little mercy. Then it's go time. The brawl kicks off with Lime Latte's crew and Makoto's team trading blows. Things don't go well for Lime Latte's side as his guys get wrecked by Shen. Frustrated, he asks Mio for help, but she tells him to shove it since she promised not to jump in. Meanwhile, Lime Latte's buddy tries to bail using teleportation magic, but as he's activating it, Makoto smacks him away from his magic circle, leaving Lime Latte dumbfounded. Now, in desperation, Lime Latte attacks Shen directly but gets completely owned as she counters and knocks him to the ground. For a moment, Shen considers just finishing Lime Latte off, but she has a change of heart once she sees a memory of his. In the end, Lime Latte apologizes to Makoto for putting Patrick's family into that cursed sleep. Makoto calls him out, saying it was more than just a deep sleep, it was a death curse. Lime Latte argues with him, making Shen suspect he's lying. To clear things up, Lime Latte tells a story about how he was hanging out at his favorite bar when he learned that adventurers who messed with the Rembrandt Trading Company were suffering and losing jobs. He also heard about some adventurers from an orphanage who died recently recently. Anger boiled up in him, especially when someone suggested cursing Patrick's family to sleep. Now, he explains that the curse was meant to put them to sleep, not to kill. After his story, Shen believes him, and with that, Makoto lets Lime Latte go to check on his crew. But before he bounces, Mio wants her payment. She grabs all the gold coins Lime Latte has, claiming the extra is interest. Both Lime Latte and Makoto are left surprised at her boldness. Fast forward a few days, and Lime Latte shows up at Patrick's place to apologize. Patrick forgives him, but says he'll have to cut back on his adventuring. Surprisingly, Lime Latte says he's retiring for good. Later that day, Shen runs into Lime Latte with a gift from Makoto. Not too far from him is the orphanage he was trying to protect earlier, and Shen brings it up since she saw it in his memories. Lime Latte is completely stunned by her strength and wonders who she is. Just seconds later, Shen hands him the gift, and it's a sword. He lights up seeing it because he thinks it's cool. Finally, Shen asks him to work for her as a spy, and he happily agrees. As the sun sets, Patrick and Morris chat about how Makoto is going to be a threat once he launches his own company. Shen overhears their convo and realizes they aren't exactly the good guys. She starts to think the witch doctor might have cursed Patrick's family as a result of their greedy ambitions. Later, Shen heads back to the demiplane, only to get some bad news from Emma about the status of the demiplane. During lunch, Emma spills the tea that the demiplane warriors are feeling pretty down after training with Mio and Shen. So, Makoto gets this idea to check out how the warriors are doing for himself. He sends Shen to chat with her crew and asks Mio to follow him. In the woods, Makoto, Emma, and Mio sneak up on some orcs to eavesdrop on their convo using his magic. The orcs are all like, training with Shen and Mio is awesome, but training with Makoto? Total Disaster Dude's magic is off the charts. Hearing this bums Makoto out, and he wishes he'd held back a bit during the training sessions. Shen comes back after talking to her followers and fills Makoto in on what she found out. Turns out, her people have the same self-doubt as the orcs, and are way weaker than she thought. This lights a bulb in Makoto's head about creating a way for everyone to communicate so they can share fighting strategies. Shen's all about Makoto's plan, but the way she hypes it up makes him worry she might get some folks hurt. That afternoon, all the warriors from different races gather around Makoto, Shen, and Mio. Shen calls up the strongest fighters from the orcs and mist lizard species. The mist lizards are basically Shen's crew, rocking dragon-like scales. Agare steps up for the orcs, while Liddy represents the mist lizards. The battle kicks off when Mini Shen declares the contests are a go. The fight heats up as both warriors trade blows and dodge like pros. At one point, Agares unleashes a move that totally wrecks the fighting platform. Makoto's jaw drops at that, but Liddy's not done yet. She tries a speed attack, but gets countered and gets slammed into the ground. Agares takes the win. Afterward, Shen critiques their fighting style, and it's clear she's not impressed. She suggests hosting weekly events where warriors can throw down in individual matches to analyze their strengths and rank them. The ones who score high will become warriors of honor. She definitely tells the less motivated to maybe pursue a different career. Once she wraps up, Mini Shen signals for Makoto to say a few words. Makoto vibes with Shen's ideas, but tweaks it to include more training sessions to beef up the warriors. Later on, Mio, Makoto, and Shen hit up the Merchants Guild to chat with the receptionist. Shen checks her power level and finds out she's ranking a bit lower than Mio. Meanwhile, Makoto talks with the receptionist and learns that the top adventurer, Lime Latte, has retired, and others are nursing injuries. Yikes! Realizing he's the reason for those injuries hits hard, so he agrees to train an adventurer to step in Toa's party, and the receptionist is on board. Back in the demiplane, Makoto begs Shen to train Toa's crew. She agrees, but can't help thinking about Toa when Makoto walks away. She recalls how Makoto reacted when he learned about Toa, realizing he must know someone like her in his past life. With a smile, she decides to train Toa quickly, so she won't be a burden on Makoto anymore. Later that day, Shen puts Toa's team through some brutal training, as you'd expect from a no-nonsense dragon. She's like, let's see how you handle a pack of wild beasts. But when they face down a wolf, they totally flop, and Shen has to step in. She throws up a barrier to buy time and lectures them on fighting strategies, planning, and attack phases. After her class, she drops the barrier and gets Hazel, and the others prep to beat the beasts. In the end, they score some rare beast parts after a tough fight. Shen then leaves them to tackle a den of monkeys solo, even though their levels are kinda low. She's confident they'll come through, even if they look a bit doubtful. The next day, Shen chats with the receptionist about the training session. The receptionist is shocked to hear Shen ditched Toa's party in the monkey's den, since it's in the dangerous Tinnarak forest. But right as she's processing this info, Toa's crew shows up at the guild with beast parts, proving they pulled it off. The receptionist and other adventurers are like, whoa, and Toa's party gets recognized as top dogs in the guild. Later, Makoto asks Mio to track down ambrosia flowers for his biz, and guess what? They're in the Tinnarak forest, which has a reputation for being risky. Mio doesn't flinch and takes the mission, while Makoto heads out to set up his shop. In the afternoon, he meets Patrick at the Rembrandt Trading Company to talk business. Makoto tells him that once Kazunoha Trading Company kicks off, he wants to rent a space in Patrick's shop. Patrick's down with it and says a spot just opened up, but Morris takes off to make calls to lock down that space because Patrick's kinda shady. Patrick Patrick sees right through Makoto's plan. Renting means he avoids the Kingdom of Aeon's property regulations. Finally, Patrick suggests a neutral spot that's not under any kingdom's thumb, after which he asks for some time to gather more info on it. This lifts Makoto's spirits, and he thanks Patrick for helping him out. After wrapping up with Patrick, he heads back to the demi-plane, stoked that his plans are falling into place. Elsewhere, Mio rolls into the Tinnarak forest with Akina, one of her followers. They notice some other adventurers wandering the woods, completely oblivious to the two mysterious figures watching them from afar. Later that day, Eris, one of the mystery figures in the woods, is super mad because some adventurers wandered into her territory. She's standing next to a bunch of unconscious adventurers who got hit by arrows. Aqua, Eris's buddy, is the one who did this. She's like, I totally would have offed them if they touched that flower. Meanwhile, the citizens in the demi-plane are throwing a party to celebrate Makoto's big win with his new business in the outside world. So, Makoto steps up to talk to the crowd, even though he's not really used to being the center of attention. Afterward, Mini-Shen offers him a drink, and he's all about it. He gives her a little pat on the head, and she gets all flustered because she's got that connection with her fragment, Mini-Shen. On the flip side, Mio shows up with a dish she knows he loves. She's eager to feed him, but her plan flops as Makoto just dives right in. Shen is watching this unfold and pulls Mio away for some secret project. Once she bails, Akina pops up to check in with Makoto about her mission in Tinnarak Forest. While he's going over the report, he asks her how her people are settling down in the demi-plane. She's all smiles, saying they've blended in just fine and are going about their daily grind without a hitch. After Akina leaves, Liddy swings by with a report about Makoto's species. He tells him they've picked up some neat tactics from their training sessions and finishes by saying he took down Agares recently, leaving Makoto impressed. Later that evening, Baron chats with Makoto about life here and beyond. During their talk, Makoto discovers Baron hasn't left the demi-plane in ages. Since he's got some serious skills in craftsmanship, Makoto suggests he should run his new shop in TSI. Baron is totally stoked and agrees right away. Then, during the feast, Mio and Shen are having a chat in the woods when Shen realizes she can't sense Makoto nearby anymore. Mio picks up on it too, but now she's worried. Shen reassures her, saying Makoto's back again. They hustle over to find him practicing archery, and when Mio sees him, she bolts over, hugging him tight because he's alive. Shen's reaction, though, is wild. She's convinced Makoto must have died a ton of times while practicing. Curious, she asks him about his shooting technique, and he breaks it down for her. He explains how he zones in just before hitting his target, which makes Shen realize that his intense focus makes him seem like he's not in the land of the living. Tears start rolling down Mio's cheeks because she thought he was actually going to kick the bucket. On another note, Shen points out that Makoto's mana is on the rise because of all that intense archery practice. He's been training so much that his mana levels are rivaling even the female lord who brought him here. When he spills this info, he's shocked, but what hits him hardest is that his mana is literally making the demi-plane expand. Shen warns him, saying if the female lord finds out about his mana levels, she'll probably wipe him out. So, she suggests he needs to grab some mana-suppressing gear to fly under her radar. The next day, Makoto's looking super worn out while he's strolling through Teasage. His mind's all jumbled up because he's having trouble focusing on his archery. Oh, and there's something from earlier that's messing with his head too. Last night, Mio showed up in his room trying to get cozy with him. At first, he didn't get what she was laying down and told her to hit the hay instead. It wasn't until later that he realized she meant something different. So, now, Makoto's helping a demi-human pick up their stuff that fell on the ground, and when he sees the guy's face, he gets why people think he's one of them. Just as things start to heat up, an attractive lady tries to pull Makoto aside for the night. But before things could get spicy, Mio and Shen swoop in to drag him away from her. Later that night, they're like all worked up, scolding him because they thought he was about to jump in bed with the lady. Makoto's trying to explain it was just an accident running into her, but his buddies aren't buying it. Mio's convinced she's not enough for him, and she teams up with Shen to try some violent seduction. In a wild turn, they end up ripping off Makoto's shirt, wanting to have their way with him. But then, Makoto just poofs away through a mist portal, leaving Mio worried about his mood. A few minutes later, Emma finds Makoto hanging upside down in a tree. She announces that his new mana-suppressing outfit is ready, which puts a smile on his face. The following day, Makoto tries on his fresh outfit designed by Rugui, complete with mana-suppressing rings. It looks killer on him, and he gives it some thumbs up. Just then, Mio shows up looking for him. In the woods, she says sorry for her actions the night before. Even though Makoto forgives her, things get a bit awkward between them. To break the tension, he brings up the ambrosia flowers. He mentions how some species take care of them, and he wants to negotiate for some. Mio first suggests she'll go solo for the negotiation, but Makoto's like, nah, I want you with me. The next day, both of them head into Tinnarak Forest. As they make their way deeper, Mio mentions that they're being followed. At one point, Mio uses her webs to trap the adventurers trailing them, tying them up nice and tight. She sticks with Makoto until they find the ambrosia flowers. When they see the flowers, it's clear someone's taking care of them, so he takes Mio by the hand, wanting to find the caretakers. While they walk, Mio can't help but grin from the thrill of holding Makoto's hand. But then, Aqua and Eris crash their little moment, leaving Mio fuming. They grill Makoto about what he's doing in their woods, and he assures them he means no harm and just wants to chat. But when other adventurers show show up, Aqua's side jumps to conclusions, thinking Makoto and Mio are thieves. That's when Eris starts throwing magic at Makoto, and he has to run for it. As he bolts, one of the adventurers decides to join him, and it turns out to be the lady from earlier who tried to seduce him. At one point, he manages to deflect Eris's magic stuff, which makes Aqua unleash some magical blasts at him. To her surprise, he blocks those attacks, leaving Aqua totally shocked. Meanwhile, Mio is just seething with rage because her happy moment got wrecked. Still in the woods, the other adventurers team up with Makoto to dodge Aqua's magic attacks. While they're at it, Shen uses her powers to chat with Makoto. He begs her to help him out of his mess, and she's totally on board after he makes her an offer she can't resist. So, Makoto tricks the adventurers into thinking he set them on fire, then gives Mio his blood to bring her back to her normal self. Aqua and Eris are totally shocked by this. It's like a weird scene for them. Aqua even tries to blast Mio and Makoto with her magic, but Mio steps in to stop her spells. Meanwhile, Makoto uses his powers to temporarily block Aqua and Eris from using their magic. Elsewhere, those other adventurers from earlier find themselves in this illusory city, completely clueless that they're in a demiplane since it's their first time. Soon enough, Mini Shen pops up with a bunch of orcs, welcoming them to the city. Back in Tinarak Forest, Makoto spills the beans to Aqua and Eris, saying he just wants to do business. Hearing this, Aqua and Eris lead him to their village, which turns out to be the Forest Ogre Village. Later on, Makoto and Mio meet with the Council of Elders overseeing the village. One elder, Niljastori, welcomes them, and at first, Makoto thinks they're elves, but he's quickly informed that they're not, since they don't draw strength from spirits. But then Niljastori's son, Adano, barges in, saying their species is pretty much the ancestors of the elves. He chats with Makoto to figure out his reason for being in the forest. Makoto admits he's a merchant looking to do business. Adano isn't cool with that because he believes no simple merchant could defeat Aqua and Eris, but he decides to give Makoto the benefit of the doubt and leaves to do his thing. Later that day, Aqua and Eris pressure Makoto to meet their master. Aqua really wants him to meet her master, but he isn't into it. Eris insists it won't be a problem, and just then, their master, Mondo, crashes in through a wall. Mondo is curious about Makoto because he took down Aqua and Eris earlier. He reaches out for a handshake, grinning and feeling Makoto's hand. Meanwhile, Mio's fuming she hates that someone else is holding Makoto's hand for too long, so she attacks Mondo and sends him flying out of the room. Her issue? He was holding hands with Makoto way too long. Meanwhile, Mondo, lying on the ground, is grinning because he realizes Makoto isn't just any ordinary human. He's decided to make Makoto and Mio regret ever meeting him. Moving on, Makoto tells Mio to keep an eye on Adano and Mondo because he's got a bad feeling about them. Mio agrees and goes off to spy. While she's busy, she notices Mondo has 0 scratches and tons of mana swirling around him. Then she spots Adano secretly chatting with someone using telepathy. After wrapping up her mission, she tells Makoto what she found out. Makoto then instructs her to head back to the demiplane so Shen can take her place. That evening, he joins a feast with the forest ogres and sees Adano talking to Mondo in the woods. Out of nowhere, Mondo grabs Adano and ties him to a tree. Suddenly, a demon bursts out of Adano's mouth, killing him on the spot. This freaks out the other forest ogres who are left shaking in their shoes, wondering what's happening. Makoto shows up and questions the demon about why he offed Adano. The demon explains Adano was linked to some troublesome creatures. Plus, he's super interested in Makoto, and from his vibe, Makoto figures out he's a lich. The lich tries to hit him with a spell, but it totally backfires, with Makoto absorbing the magic, leaving the lich stunned. Then, Makoto chows down on more of the lich's magic, leaving him wide open. He telepathically tells Shen he wants to chat with the lich later. With this info, Shen opens a portal below the lich, pulling him into the demiplane. The forest ogres start freaking out, thinking the lich just vanished. They're blown away by Makoto's strength, realizing he isn't just some regular merchant. They even slip up, revealing they had plans to take Makoto out during the feast. This hits Makoto hard. He had no idea they were gunning for him. Meanwhile, Shen spots Niljastori and recognizes him because they've met before when she was in dragon form. At first, Niljastori pretends not to know her, but when she shows a shadow of herself, he's shaking in his boots. The other elders bow down when they find out who she really is. Shen gives Makoto mad respect since he's her master. When the elders discover that Shen is Makoto's servant, they're totally shocked. Later, Makoto heads back to the demiplane to interrogate the lich. The lich reveals he's been hanging out inside a forest ogre's body just to check out their abilities. He also spills that he wants to become a Grant, a super high-ranking human. He raises his voice at one point, but Mio and Shen keep him in check. Since he knows a lot about magic, Makoto wants to buy his spell books because the only spell he has is one that Emma wrote for him ages ago. Seconds later, Shen jumps in and calls out the lich about his ambitions. She already knows he wants to become a Grant because he knows there's another world out there without the female lord. The lich agrees, but adds that Grants can travel between worlds. Shen shoots him down, explaining that those who actually manage to hop between worlds are called Grants. This blows the lich's mind because he was not expecting that. Shen also mentions that traveling to another world is super risky, with low survival odds. That's when the lich realizes all his plans have been totally pointless. Shen offers him a contract with Makoto, but only only if he abandons his original goals. Meanwhile, the adventurers are stuck in one of the houses in the demi-plane, plotting to swipe some loot from the orcs. In the meantime, Mini Shen and an Alki are off to drop some used stuff at a shop. Back in Shen's area, the Lich signs a contract with Makoto, but this time, Makoto takes the whole deal. Once the ritual wraps up, the Lich transforms into a hot dude. He thanks Makoto for giving him the chance to be his servant. Suddenly, Shen freaks out and then boom, an explosion goes off that grabs Makoto's attention. At the same time, Shen drops unconscious with blood pouring from her mouth. Makoto's shocked, thinking she might be gone for good. Makoto checks out Shen's body and frantically begs Mio to stop the bleeding. Then he decides he's heading to the explosion site and wants Lich to tag along. Later that night, while chilling in the woods, Lich starts using healing magic to help those affected by the explosion. Most of them are the folks who were around during the earlier adventure. Makoto assesses the situation and freaks out about the casualties. He wants to help heal them, but he remembers that his magic won't work in their current state. Then he gets the idea to use his powers to give Lich's magic a boost for the injured. Emma shows up at the scene with the remains of one of the orcs caught in the blast. Makoto rushes over to the explosion site and sees shattered mist portals everywhere. As he looks up, he senses an adventurer on the other side of one portal, and two more in different ones. Suddenly, the presence of Shen's fragment and the orc fades away, leaving Makoto stunned because he realizes they're dead. Out of curiosity, he tries to step into the portal leading to one of the adventurers. When he touches it, he starts seeing memories of the female adventurer who tried to charm him a few days ago. From what he sees, it hits him that the lady and her crew are the ones behind the explosion that rocked the demi-plane. Meanwhile, the lady wakes up in a place that looks like Tzij, but she has no clue she's in an illusory city. Just then, Makoto arrives with a blank stare in his eyes. As he walks toward her, she steps back, terrified of him. She pulls out her sword, thinking she can take him because he's just a merchant, but Makoto pulls out a dagger that belonged to the now dead orc and slices off her hands. As she bleeds out, Makoto's rage explodes because she's the one who caused Mini Shen's death and took out other orcs in the blast too. The lady pleads for mercy, but it's no use. Makoto slits her throat. After she's gone, he breaks down, feeling sorrowful because in his old world, death is just plain sad. The next day, Makoto tries to keep it together at the memorial for the fallen. Later, he names the Lich Shiki, which means knowledge, and Shiki is grateful for the new name. Then, Makoto chats with Shen about the wild adventure from yesterday. The fact that he killed the lady weighs heavy on him, making him think his contracts with Mio, Shen, and Shiki are affecting him. Shiki drops some wisdom, saying that in a contract of control, none of the servant's essence enters the master's body. Hearing this, Makoto calms down a bit. Shiki adds that Makoto can borrow any of his servant's powers whenever he wants, but it'll take time to get used to it. Shen jumps in, saying the only time this changes is when a master and servant really trust each other. She also mentions that in emergencies, the servant's abilities might activate uncontrollably. Makoto has this weird reaction to that, asking a rhetorical question. Not long after, Mio and Shen start arguing because Mio believes Makoto will trigger her powers if he gets hurt. Shen retorts, thinking Mio can't compete since she has a deeper bond with Makoto, but Mio fires back, claiming she's had Makoto's blood, and Shen counters that Makoto caused her pain until she was writhing. Later, Makoto sets a plan in motion to keep the weak and kids safe in the demi-plane. He checks in on the injured, finding out some of them are recovering nicely. He meets up with Darren and Rugui to discuss some materials that could help reduce casualties in case of another explosion. Before he leaves, he tells Darren to carefully manage the goods he plans to sell in Tzij, and Darren happily agrees. As the sun sets, Shen visits a close friend of the deceased orc. He apologizes for his mistakes, but the orc doesn't see it that way. Since Makoto saved his village at the cost of his life, he's fine with that. Makoto wraps up the chat by saying he wants to make things right. The next day, Makoto meets Patrick in his office to talk about the neutral city they discussed earlier. Patrick says the spot is in Rotsgard Academy, a place full of educational institutions. He offers to write Makoto a letter of recommendation to help with his business ventures. At some point, Makoto admits he lied about the mask he wears. He takes it off, leaving Morris and Patrick stunned when they see his face. That afternoon in the demi-plane, Mio and Shen clash again because Makoto took Shiki on an important mission. Makoto explains he chose Shiki because he's less likely to cause destruction than Mio and Shen. He wants to learn more about humans, magic, the Lord, and his parents, so he can get a grip on how this universe works. That's why he's planning to go to an academy, which he shares with his servants. He feels bad about leaving the demi-plane and siege in disarray, but he's already made his choice. At the end of his speech, he gifts Mio and Shen some of his memories that interest them. They're grateful for the gift, but Shen mentions she'll be adding more residents to the demi-plane while Makoto's away. Makoto is shocked to hear Shen plans to bring forest ogres to the demi-plane. The next day, Makoto bids his final goodbyes and sets off for Rotsgard Academy. While making his way, the female lord tracks him down and teleports him somewhere far away from his original destination. Meanwhile, Morris and Patrick discuss the looming war between humans and demons. Meanwhile, Shiki is freaking out, talking to Mio and Shen because he has no clue what happened to Makoto. Back at Makoto's location, a warrior named Sophia ambushes ambushes him from behind and takes him to the ground. Alongside her is Mitsurugi, another warrior who seems to have a serious grudge against Makoto. Makoto's finally up and trying to figure things out, but he's got a serious problem, two warriors staring him down, ready to end him. Meanwhile, Mitsurugi thinks Makoto's some kind of demi-human and wonders if he's one of the chosen ones by the Lord. On top of that, Makoto's trying to reach his servants but can't get through. He's bleeding from his hand, missing 2 fingers after that nasty hit from Sophia. She interrogates him, asking if he's a human-based chimera or a demi-human, and he's like, nah, I'm just human. Then he's all, why are you attacking me? And she's got the nerve to say she's on the side of demons now, so he's her enemy. This totally leaves Makoto speechless for a moment. Once he realizes he's in a freaking battlefield, he quickly scans the area, only to discover he's caught in a wild war between humans and demons. Mitsurugi thinks he's got to stop the demon army from pushing forward, so he tells Sophia to take Makoto out like, as soon as possible. Makoto can feel the danger, so he switches to battle mode like a pro. He launches a whole bunch of fire blasts at Sophia and Mitsurugi, then tries to make a smooth getaway. But nope, Mitsurugi's got sharp crystals at the ready, blocking all his escape routes. Sophia catches up and tries to land a few hits, but it's like hitting a wall. Makoto barely feels it. Mitsurugi jumps in for round 2, convinced Makoto's got some protection going on since he just showed up out of nowhere. But Makoto's like, I don't want to fight, and Mitsurugi thinks he's begging for mercy now. When Makoto finds out Sophia and Mitsurugi are the ultimate adventurers, he freaks out. So he introduces himself as a regular merchant, but Mitsurugi calls BS on that. They both get into battle stances, ready to launch themselves at him. Meanwhile, Makoto decides to take off one of his mana-suppressing rings. Suddenly, he's blasting out so much mana, it shocks both Mitsurugi and Sophia. Who the heck saw that coming? Even so, Makoto aims a massive fire blast their way, leaving them looking a little spooked. Mitsurugi manages to hold off what Makoto sends his way for a bit, but man, that magical attack just overpowers him. In the meantime, Sophia sees her chance and charges at Makoto with her epic sword, swinging it in slow-mo. But Makoto's not having it. He slams his blade down and shatters her weapon into pieces. Sophia's shocked, but instead of giving up, she grabs Makoto and takes him up into the sky, letting gravity do its thing. But it gets messy with all those sharp crystals floating around. While Makoto's plummeting back down, he fires blasts at the crystals to protect himself, all while going full throttle on Sophia and Mitsurugi. He suddenly taps into a massive amount of mana stored in his rings. The reaction is wild. It obliterates parts of the area, and you can see humans and demons scrambling to get the heck out of there. Meanwhile, Makoto escapes through a portal just before hitting the ground. In the end, Sophia and Mitsurugi are left bobbing in a pool of water, wishing Makoto was history. The next morning, Makoto wakes up in bed with Mio and Shen, and guess what? His battle wounds are all healed up. Later, Patrick gets intel from one of his guys about the previous day's chaos. Apparently, that huge explosion at the battlefield came from the Lord's disciple, who rolls in red gear. Back in the demiplane, Shen finds out that Mitsurugi's still alive. Then Shiki spills that the Lord actually tried to force Makoto into fighting the demons, which is why she zapped him to the battlefield. This revelation ticks Makoto off big time, and Mio's fuming too. She's definitely got revenge on her mind. Makoto shares he wants to amp up his mana flow and believes once he learns magic basics, things will change. So, he reaffirms his plan to join Shiki at an academy. This time, Shen and Mio jump in, suggesting they tag along to avoid another disaster like yesterday. But Makoto's like, nah, I need to keep you two safe from the Lord. He thinks of them as his secret weapons and doesn't want to risk anything happening to them. As the chat winds down, Shen introduces Makoto to another part of herself, this little fragment that looks just like mini Shen, but with a different vibe. Makoto names her Komoe and smiles. Shen calls Komoe Makoto's kid since she's made from their combined mana, and wow, that sends Mio into a rage. It's the moment when Komoe calls Makoto dad that really drives Mio up a wall. In another spot, the forest ogres are training hard in the demiplane with other warriors, pumped about leveling up their strength. Back to Makoto. He's blown away when he realizes Shen really did recruit the forest ogres like she said. Later that day, Akina rolls out the red carpet for an adventurer, hyping up all the great stuff to check out in the illusory city. Meanwhile, the shop in TSIJ is open for business, with Baron running the show. Even though the shopkeepers aren't human, they're pulling in customers with all sorts of slick marketing for their products and the illusory city. Patrick can't believe his eyes. Makoto's business tactics are seriously next level. As sunset rolls in, Makoto sits alone and reflects on his wildlife since landing in this universe. Then Emma calls him to join a feast celebrating the store opening in T-Siege, and oh yeah, his farewell party. Before heading off, he's hit with memories from his first met Emma to everything that's happened since. He's feeling grateful for the journey so far, thrilled to exist in this new world. But just when he thinks he's got it all sorted out, the drama with Mio and Shen pops back up.